What if the next industrial empire is not built with steel, oil, or ships, but with invisible rivers of data? Across China, a vast AI supercomputer network is rising, and if it works, it could reshape how factories run, how machines decide, and who leads the future of global industry. The silent machine spreading across China. It does not begin with one giant machine. It begins with a map. Across China, planners are laying out something much larger than a single supercomputer, a connected national system built from 8 computing hubs and 10 data center clusters. Official Chinese sources describe it as a major project to boost national computing power and push more digital infrastructure across the country, while Merix describes it more bluntly as an infrastructure megaproject for computing power tied to China's wider AI strategy. That matters because AI at this scale does not live inside one glowing room full of servers. It needs land, energy, cooling, fiber links, and coordination. In other words, it needs a system. And China is not treating that system like a side project. It is building it like core national infrastructure. From the outside, a data center can look lifeless, just concrete, cables, and humming air. Behind those walls, something more important is taking shape. The computing backbone that could train models, move industrial data, and power the next generation of automated decision-making. So this story is not really about one machine. It is about a country trying to turn computing power itself into industrial power. East data, West computing. Why the geography matters. This network was never meant to sit in one city. It was designed to stretch across a continent-sized country. China calls the project East Data, West Computing. The basic idea is simple. The country's richest and most data-hungry regions are mostly in the east, but many of the best conditions for large-scale data centers, more land, more energy resources, and stronger room for expansion are in the west. Chinese officials say the strategy is meant to send more computing resources from the crowded eastern regions to the less developed but resource-rich western regions. That shift solves several problems at once. Officials have said that many existing data centers are concentrated in the east, where land and energy shortages can threaten long-term growth. By contrast, western regions are described as richer in resources, especially renewable energy, making them better suited for large data center development and for handling data computing demand coming from the east. And this is not just theory anymore. By August 2024, Chinese officials said direct investment in the 8 hubs had reached 43.5 billion yuan, with total driven investment above 200 billion yuan. They also said latency between eastern and western hubs had generally met the 20 millisecond target, while some newly built data centers reduced power usage effectiveness to as low as 1.04. So the geography is the strategy. China is trying to move computing the way it once moved water, gas, and electricity across regions at national scale with long-term planning behind it. And once computing starts moving like infrastructure, it stops looking like a tech project and starts looking like power. Why Beijing thinks compute power is the new industrial fuel. Steel built the old industrial age. Electricity accelerated the next one. Now, China is betting that computing power may shape the one after that. That is why this network matters so much. Merix describes Beijing's response to the new AI race as partly an infrastructure megaproject for computing power, while Rand says China is building a national integrated computing network to pool resources across public and private data centers. This is not just about owning more servers. It is about making sure AI systems, companies, and state-backed projects can tap into a larger national pool of computing capacity when they need it. The pressure behind that push is easy to understand. China's AI strategy now sits inside a much tougher technology environment, with export controls, chip constraints, and rising competition with the United States shaping how fast advanced AI can scale. Merix says China's AI model is being forced to adapt to an era of technological deglobalization, while Reuters reports that Beijing's latest plan ties AI expansion directly to productivity, industrial upgrading, and national technological strength. And this is where the story shifts from technology to industry. When a government starts treating compute like a strategic resource, it is no longer thinking only about chatbots or flashy demos. It is thinking about design software, smart logistics, robotics, predictive maintenance, factory scheduling, and machine vision. All the quiet systems that make modern industry faster, cheaper, and harder to challenge. Reuters says China's newest blueprint pushes AI across the wider economy, while Rand notes that the country is combining state support, pilot zones, and computing infrastructure to speed adoption. So in Beijing's eyes, compute is not just technical capacity, it is industrial fuel. And once a country starts building fuel lines for intelligence itself, the next question becomes impossible to ignore. Where will all that power be used first? From data centers to factories, the real target is industry. A server hall may look cold and distant, but China is not building this network just to store information. It is building it to move intelligence into the real economy. That is where the story becomes much bigger than cloud infrastructure. Reuters reports that China's new 5-year plan pushes AI across the broader economy and ties it directly to productivity, industrial upgrading, and technological strength. The same reporting says the blueprint includes an AI plus action plan aimed at sectors such as manufacturing, healthcare, and education. While Chinese officials have separately said the goal is to combine digital technology with China's manufacturing base, so AI can empower industries at scale. This matters because factories do not change when you add one clever machine. They change when entire systems start seeing, predicting, and adjusting in real time. A national computing backbone can support model training, industrial software, machine vision, scheduling, simulation, and optimization across large networks of firms and suppliers. RAND says China is building a national integrated computing network to pool computing resources across public and private data centers, which helps explain why this is being treated as a system-wide industrial project rather than just a tech build-out. And Beijing is being unusually direct about the direction of travel. Government-linked reporting says implementation guidelines for an AI plus manufacturing plan are intended to support the intelligent transformation of key industries, production processes, and strategic sectors. That does not mean China already controls global industry, but it does mean the country is openly trying to wire AI into the machinery of production itself. So the real target is not the data center, it is the factory floor, the logistics chain, the industrial robot, the design system, and the decision loop that connects them all. And once computing begins to seep into those places, the network stops being a digital story and starts becoming an industrial one. The scale, money, and speed behind the build-out. Big strategies sound abstract until the numbers arrive. Then the machine starts to feel real. By the end of June 2024, Chinese officials said the country had directly invested more than 43.5 billion yuan into the construction of the 8 computing hubs tied to the East Data West Computing project. They also said the total investment driven by the project had already surpassed 200 billion yuan, while the number of data center racks had exceeded 1.95 million. Those figures matter because they show this is not a symbolic plan sitting on paper. The hubs are being built at scale, and officials say the network latency between eastern and western hubs has generally met the 20 millisecond requirement. At the same time, some newly built data centers reportedly reduced power usage effectiveness to as low as 1.04, suggesting China is not only expanding fast, but also trying to improve efficiency as it goes. The speed matters just as much as the money. Officials said China aims to form a preliminary, comprehensive computing power infrastructure system by the end of 2025. RAND's analysis helps explain why that timeline matters. China is trying to pool computing resources across public and private data centers, turning scattered capacity into something more coordinated and strategically useful. And that is the real shift. This is no longer just a race to build more data centers. It is becoming a race to organize computing power faster than everyone else and to turn that organization into industrial momentum. Once that happens, the final question becomes unavoidable. If this network keeps expanding, how far could its influence really reach? Could this network shape the future of global industry? That depends on what kind of power matters most in the next industrial age. If the future belongs to countries that can organize intelligence at scale, then this network matters far beyond China's borders. Reuters reports that Beijing's latest 5-year plan pushes AI across the economy and links it to new productivity, advanced manufacturing, robotics, and wider technological strength. RAND adds that China is building a national integrated computing network to pool computing resources across public and private data centers, while Merrick's describes the broader strategy as a computing power megaproject inside a more coordinated national AI push. That still does not prove China will control global industry. That word goes further than the sources do, but the sources do support something serious. China is trying to build enough computing infrastructure, policy support, and industrial AI capacity to influence how the next generation of factories, supply chains, and automation systems are designed and deployed. Reuters says the plan includes an AI plus action plan across major sectors, and RAND notes that China is combining infrastructure with pilot zones, funding, and state-backed coordination to speed adoption. And that is where the story becomes unsettling. Industrial leadership used to depend on raw materials, shipping lanes, machine tools, and labor. Now another layer is forming above all of them. Compute, invisible, strategic, and increasingly central to how products are designed. Machines are trained, and decisions are made. Merrick's argues that China's answer to a harsher tech environment includes a whole-of-nation AI model built around infrastructure and coordination, not just isolated firms. So maybe the biggest question is not whether this network controls the future today. It is whether the next industrial order will reward the country that builds the deepest, fastest, and most coordinated intelligence backbone first. And if that is true, then what is rising across China is not just a network of data centers. It is a bid to help write the operating system of global industry itself. And maybe that is the real shift happening in silence. The future of industry may not be won only by who builds the best machines, but by who powers them with the smartest network. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.